How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And today we're going to be looking at wildcard drafts for Game Week 5. I have 3 on the docket today. But first of all, I would like to thank you guys. We have hit over 1,000 subscribers, so thank you so much. Hopefully we can get to 2,000. That's my goal by the end of this FPL season. But if you haven't done so and you are new around here, smash the like button on the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Also, don't miss out on our weekly streams over on Twitch. We have one coming this Monday at 7 p.m. EDT for our Game Week 5 preview show, as well as we have the deadline stream on Saturday, 1 hour before the deadline, whatever time zone that may be for you. And give us a follow over on Twitter as well. We usually put a bulletin every Sunday to show you what content is coming out. I typically do a little fun gaming video for whatever game I'm happen to be playing at the time. If it's a multi-part series, it'll be out in stages, and I usually put that out on Sundays. And next week you'll see more content coming out. We'll have the usual stuff like the captaincy videos, pep roulette, all the series that you guys are used to. And if there are any series that you would like to see, make sure to give a comment down below as to which ones you'd like to see. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, I've gone with a bit of a simpler setup. Usually we have the fancy graphics with the player pictures, but I wanted to kind of get the full team out on the screen. And that's because teams with value increasing, we can start to see a bit more, kind of changes in the way people play, the way people think about formations, because some weren't possible, like 5 wide across midfield with 6 million or so midfielders or higher in every position. We have a 4.5 million forward in Ryan Brewster, who's going to be a main component in a couple of these teams that I'm going to show you, and there's many different things that you can do with it. So with this one, I've gone with the informed goalkeeper to start off with, Martinez at 4.6 million. He's just been so good, and we've got his backup in Steer, who seems to be on the bench pretty much every game. If Steer were to get hurt randomly, then it would be Nyland, I believe it was, but I think Steer is going to be on the bench. So if you do have one goalkeeper down in Martinez, then you have Steer as a backup. That may change from time to time, but who knows. I think Martinez, obviously assuming he's fit, he'll play every game for Aston Villa, and they've been doing quite well for themselves, battering Liverpool 7-2, making the Man United scoreline for my team, unfortunately, not as bad. So, but again, I had Mohamed Salah in that game, so it's not, not the end of the world. He did score 2 goals, but Martinez has looked good, even for save points, clean sheets. He can save penalties. He's shown that, and he's just a very good goalkeeper, good with his feet, and very good at just making, good saves. And Aston Villa have tightened up their defense quite heavily. Liverpool had to work for those 2 chances. So I think he could be a good goalkeeper going forward. And then we have, somewhat of an expensive back line. We've gone with double Liverpool defense, even though they just conceded 7. But hear me out on this one. Robertson, Alexander-Arnold, Chilwell all kind of play as very, very attacking defenders. If you look at their price points, if they're fit, are there going to be players that score much more than them in those positions, and let alone at that price point? Probably not. James may be an exception at 7.5, comparison to Trent. But you have to think of these players, these attacking defenders, as midfielders that can get clean sheets as well. That's what you have to think of Robertson. That's what you have to think of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Maybe Jack Grealish and Zaha might outscore them by the end of the season, but that's highly unlikely if Liverpool keep the clean sheets that they normally would have. However, Alisson is going to be out for quite a while. He had a shoulder injury. I think it's 4 to 6 weeks. I think it was scheduled to be. Could be longer. So that may warrant you kind of steering away from double Liverpool defense for the time being. Adrian's been quite shaky. But again, it's attackers first, clean sheets second. And then Lamptey is the informed, cheaper defender here. And Mitchell, I have had him at 4 million. As well. Also a note, this is the squad value, so 107 million for this team. This is if you did not buy any of these players previously and you're buying them at market value. So it may say 7.3 million at Calvert-Lewin, but I've calculated him at his current price. Same with James Rodriguez, same with Salah. Salah's at 12.2. I've calculated for that extra 0.1 million. So 100.7 million isn't that much at all, given how good this team looks on paper. Anyway, that's assuming Liverpool, keep up their attacking returns from fullback. They didn't do that last game and got thumped pretty heavily, so they ended up with negative scores across the board. Van Dijk coming off the worst with that, with -2. But overall, we think that they'll definitely get attacking returns because it's a big part of the way they play. And then in the midfield, we have Raheem Sterling here. If you have a little bit extra cash or downgrade elsewhere, you can get the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, who actually went back down, I believe, to 11.6 million at the time of recording. I'm not sure if he's going back up or what have you. Phil Foden comes in as a very cheap enabler here. If he's going to be playing that David Silva type role, I really like him in that because I don't see any other player apart from Gundogan that can play that in a midfield three, and Gundogan kind of isn't really that good of a presser of the ball, and I think Guardiola likes two very attacking, very aggressive, like pressing players, and De Bruyne and Foden are perfect for that. David Silva originally was the type of player in his prime to kind of, nick the ball off people and kind of get in there and then make the quick and easy pass or be able to turn around the corner and do that quite well. And I think Foden could potentially be his new role, which Guardiola kind of hinted at and talked about last season after restart. Then obviously Mohamed Salah's in there. He's the man, getting the penalties, scoring the goals. Mane has been tested positive. He will probably be back for game week 5, but again, you can't be too sure about that. And Salah's on penalties, so if they're the same price or similar-ish prices, and Salah's on pens, if Mane's back, then there's a discussion to be had, but penalties is a big part of today's game. They said they're going to be more lenient with handballs, but again, Liverpool can generate a lot of penalties with just their attackers alone. Then James Rodriguez, Calvert-Lewin, the Everton double up here. I've had them since the end of game week 1, so I brought them in for game week 2, and they've done nothing but wonders. I think Everton is a very transformed team. They're top of the league, I believe. Haven't really checked the table too much. 4 game weeks isn't too much to go off of, but they've been doing quite well. Calvert-Lewin scoring again for England today as well, from what I heard. And Danny Ings as well was another one that scored for England as well. I got him in at 8.4, so he's 8.5. Didn't score last week, but I think even against the likes of Chelsea, who apparently Mendy's gotten injured, so they might have Kepa back in goal, which could favor Southampton. But all the fixtures up until the end of the Christmas period, you can say, yeah, that defense Danny Ings can definitely score against. And he's on penalties as well, which is a big part. And then lastly, the main man that kind of makes it all work with the Sheffield United duo, the 4.5, one midfielder, one attacker. Burke has been playing alongside McGoldrick up front. I think Burke may come in more of an actual number 10 role, potentially if Wilder changes the system, but we might see Burke and Brewster playing as a front two, and that would be the ideal scenario, which would make this very, very good in terms of just attacking output, because then you're looking at 2 4.5 players that you have on your bench that can score, or even if you decide to play Brewster, because you can play 4 defenders in a 4-4-2 system with Brewster, Burke, and Mitchell on the bench. There's many different ways you can kind of, slice it here. You can start Brewster if he's starting in, every game in, game out. And you can have Lamptey as your first sub if he doesn't have that great of a fixture. Or you can even put Lamptey in and have Chilwell on the bench if they're playing against, Liverpool or something like that. Or maybe you go half and half. It just all depends on how good of a fixture Lamptey has and what Sheffield United's form is like. Because before the season started, everyone was thinking, oh yeah, Sheffield United's going to kick on here. They have a couple of decent signings, youngsters coming in. They played well last season. But again, it's all depending on how they do after this restart. And with the signing of Brewster, I think he can come straight in and do wonders for them. So I think this is kind of a team that's quite flexible. You can see that with, you can even play Mitchell, because he might stay on the left and have PVA shift to the right in the back 4 potentially when he comes back in, but we'll have to see on that front. If Mitchell is, sort of an inkling that he will not start, or PVA is not up to full fitness, then you could just put in Ferguson, who will probably go straight in once he's back to full fitness, whenever that time may be. Now with that last draft, we did go heavy in defense. Now this time, we're going heavy in midfield, so you can kind of see where the pattern's going. And it's only 0.1 million higher in squad value, 100.8 million. This is, again, if all the players were purchased at current market value. So we've gone with some, middle of the range defenders in Saiss, Castagne, and Chilwell. Saiss has proven to be quite effective. He may be shifted out to left wing back on a permanent basis, as we saw in their previous game. Castagne and Chilwell also doing wonders for their team in their first few appearances that they've seen. Chilwell's obviously only played 1 game, and he was in the last team that we had. And Martinez returns in goal. And then we've gone with a power 5 in midfield. So Salah's in there. We have Pulisic in there. We got Sterling in there. We got James Rodriguez. If you wanted to go a bit more balanced and you want to go with Foden as your cheaper midfielder, you can put like Bruno Fernandes as your 5th midfielder. And then you're looking at, you got Everton, you have Liverpool, you have City, you have Chelsea, you have United. All these teams that when they're on form, they can definitely do damage. You have a lot of the playmakers and the penalty takers in there as well. So there's still speculation as to who Everton's penalty taker is when Sigurdsson is not on the pitch and when Richarlison isn't fit. I think they've only got 1 penalty this season as far as I know in the Premier League, and Richarlison was the one to take it. Now that may have been because at the time Richarlison didn't have a goal to his name. It's still up in the air for me. I still think James or Calvert-Lewin potentially could take them, but we'll have to see on that front. But again, you have Salah, the penalty taker. If you got a little extra money or you downgraded elsewhere, you could have Kevin De Bruyne as the penalty taker. If James is the penalty taker, you can have him in there. A little bit extra cash, like 0.1, I believe, or 0.2 will get you Kai Havertz, who could be the penalty taker maybe as well for Chelsea when Jorginho is not playing, obviously. And then Foden in there to enable that midfield. And then you have 5 really dominant midfielders without really taking too much away from the front line. You have Raul Jimenez in there. That could also be Danny Ings. You have Calvert-Lewin, who's done wonders as well. And then Ryan Brewster as well. Again, similar style. You can play 4-5-1 if you think that, if Jimenez gets injured or has a really, really bad fixture. Wolves have been off form and you're just not looking to transfer him out or that sort of stuff. You can go Lamptey, Chilwell, Saiz, Castagne, the midfield 5, and then either Calvert-Lewin or Jimenez up front. You can go 4-4-2 if you think that Foden is likely to not start the game and you think it's a not as great of a fixture for Man City. Maybe they're playing against like a Burnley or something like that, and he played midweek and he played 90 minutes and you don't think he might play, and you think that Brewster's fixture is better. You could play him or Calvert-Lewin or Jimenez, whoever you want to play. This formation is quite flexible in that regard as well. And it only costs, like I said, 0.1 million more. Another thing to note is that it's that midfield, that mid-price midfielder, the Pulisic type of, kind of price point. If you downgrade, certain positions, maybe you go for a cheaper defender instead of Castagne or Chilwell. So maybe another 4.5. You can get that extra million and then be looking at the likes of Heung-min Son and Gareth Bale, or you can even upgrade Foden to the likes of Jack Grealish. There's many different things that you can do with this formation, and the Power 5 midfield with the team value going up and up and up can start to see, kind of it take shape and kind of get a little bit stronger as the season goes forward, because we know that we have a lot of assets in there and you can't pick them all because you only have 5 slots. But some people are starting to look at all the different options and trying to formulate the best possible set of midfield 5. And lastly, we've gone with a bit more money up front. Now this comes in at 100.7 million for this draft. We've gone with a bit lighter in defense, a bit heavier in midfield, and with 10.5, where Kane is 10.6, which I've accumulated in the squad value of a forward up front. Now the reason I put him in one of the drafts was mainly because of the fact that we still have one player who knows how to tear up FPL quite well, and that's Sergio Aguero, and he's been out and is apparently returned back to training. Whether he's going to be fully fit come game week 5, that's yet to be seen. Gabriel Jesus might still be out for another week. We're still not too sure there, and Pep doesn't really give too much inkling on that regardless of the fact. But it makes it so that if Kane's drops off in form, or Spurs don't look as good, or starting to get a downturn in form, maybe the games catch up to them, or maybe Kane gets injured of some kind, then you can look to the likes of Sergio Aguero or Gabriel Jesus. Because if there's one rule that I know when it comes to something that I didn't follow last season, if Gabriel Jesus or Sergio Aguero are out, if either of those two are out, you buy the other one, because they're going to start game in, game out. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, Pilot, they can play false 9 with Raheem Sterling up front, all this sort of nonsense. They don't play well when they play a false 9. I think Pep's finally getting the realization of that. They need a striker, and I'm actually surprised they didn't go after one in the transfer window. They were mainly bulking up their defense, which is a bit interesting to see. Spurs did get a backup striker, so if Kane does go down, they will still have that kind of replacement, as it were, so that Bale and Son, when they're in the team, will be that man in behind, and hopefully they play that they play the new I don't know his name, but the new signing that they do have will play in a similar role to kind of how Kane drops in deep and then provides, or maybe he just plays as a hold-up man and then knocks it on as they are running down the flank. So we'll have to see in that regard. But let's talk about the team really quickly here. So James and Chilwell, we got a Chelsea double up in defense. With Mendy, I know he's been recently, apparently he's injured now, but he looked great in the first game that we saw him, as well as in the Carabao Cup, making, a few good saves. Obviously, penalty shootout, not really too much you can do. You just have to guess, really, from a goalkeeping term. And Chilwell and James are going to be flying forward. They're going to be attacking quite often. James is a rotation risk, so you can go for the likes of Roman Saiss if you want to go for someone a little bit safer potentially, or maybe a different 5 million midfielder. Maybe you have a little extra cash. Maybe Telles is someone who comes into your team, as he is at 5.5 million. But that would be if United stop conceding. But he is very good on set plays, and he's very good at creating chances. Then we have the rotation of Walker Peters and Lamptey, and we've gone with a different goalkeeper, Matt Ryan. So we have a double up in Brighton defense, and I think that Brighton are basically a little bit of defending away from being a really, really solid team. They have the attacking aspect, they have the beautiful football going on, knocking it around, and I think that they can do quite well going forward. They just kind of need to shore it up a little bit with the clean sheets. And then in midfield, we have Gareth Bale. So we have that much bigger midfielder slot in the 3-4-3 that we will play here, or 3-5-2, or 4-4-2, whichever one you want, depending on Burke, Brewster, or your defenders, fixtures, and starting availability. And when Bale, when he's fit, Bale's a ridiculously good player. He was world-class on his day. He scored probably one of the best Champions League goals I've ever seen, and probably most people have seen, just bicycle kicking in the back of the net. And he knows how to win, and I think that that's the type of player that Mourinho wanted his team. Somebody who's been there, done it, just like himself, and wants to be that kind of vocal leader, to be like, when the chips are down, when the chips are against them, they can fight back and kind of, get that little mental edge over their opponent, and then slowly bring the game back into their favor, and then ultimately winning it. And I think Bale could definitely do that, assuming he stays fit. If he doesn't stay fit, like he hasn't been, at Real Madrid, and only playing golf really, then that could be quite a problem. But again, the Spurs double-up looks quite good. This could also easily be Heung-min Son as well. I see no reason why that wouldn't be a safer option. He is 0.5 cheaper, but we'll have to see kind of how Mourinho integrates Bale. And then we have the usual suspects in there. We have a Man City mid, which again could be Kevin De Bruyne. We have Mohamed Salah. We have James Rodriguez, Calvert-Lewin. There's going to be a lot of similar players on wildcards this week. But I think that this formation, you have to kind of consider these players that are coming in. I have Kane in the slot for the time being, but when Aguero comes back, everyone's probably going to be jumping on him because they know he's going to be fit and ready, because he's taken so much time off in terms of getting his fitness back up. So we'll have to see kind of how sharp he is. And then, like I said, Bale could be Heung-min Son as well. So we'll kind of have to see how that all plays out. And overall, I think that flexibility is key on a wild card, as well as price points. If you get the price points right and you get the little bit extra value for bringing certain players in, you can have a very successful wild card going into Game Week 5. And that's going to do it for our Game Week 5 wildcard drafts. I want to thank everyone again for reaching over 1,000 subscribers for the channel. Hopefully we can hit 2,000 by the end of the FPL season. If we do manage to break that, I might think of some type of giveaway to do or something. We'll have to see kind of how it works out. But that's a long way away. We still have a whole FPL season to go ahead. We've only hit the first international break. But if you have been enjoying the content and you are new around here, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. And leave a comment down below as to which players you're looking to bring in on your wildcard, and maybe some players that you aren't happy with and you're getting rid of on your wildcard as well. Also, remember, like I said, streams over on Twitch. The preview is on Monday of next week. That's going to be at 7 p.m. EDT, and the deadline stream on the Saturday, 1 hour before the deadline closes, whichever time zone that may be for you. Last week it was 5 a.m. EDT, but it may have changed, and I'm not sure when daylight saving and all that sort of stuff comes into play. And give us a follow over on Twitter so you can see the bulletin of videos that come out every week. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, take care.